Hey, what's up, everybody? Chris Horwedel back for another episode of In Pursuit of a Parlay, Season 2, Episode 2. We're back, and this is a really exciting one. Last week was fun. We did the NFL futures, and that's great. That's a fun thing to look forward to. And, you know, at plus 37, 188, I believe, there was a lot of meat on that bone to bring some money home. That was not intended. But this week is much more fun because we've got real football to talk about. Now, look, I'm going to be honest with you. It is not the single most exciting week of college football action that you'll ever see. But none of that matters because when you turn your television on this Saturday, starting the first game's at 12:30 Eastern time, there's going to be real, meaningful college football being played. None of this preseason NFL stuff, no scrimmages, no practices, real college football being played, and that marks the beginning of the best time of the year. Meant to say this last week, but a little bit out of practice. Thank you to everybody who watched and listened in Season 1. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts or Spotify or anything like that, please rate, review, do all of that great stuff. If you're watching on YouTube, make sure you sub the channel. Like this video, that helps us a ton. Feel free to leave any comments, negative or positive. Everything is welcome. Let's dig into it. College football, Week 0, In Pursuit of a Parlay. We've got 7 games. As I mentioned, the first of them kicks off. It's on Fox. It's 12:30 Eastern time, and they're going to be playing it from Dublin, Ireland. Apologies to any Irish listeners out there for that horrible accent. We've got Nebraska against Northwestern. So, let's get this out of the way. This is probably not going to be a very competitive game. We did not send our best and brightest over there to Ireland. But college football is college football. Let's start by looking at the Northwestern Wildcats. So first of all, we're seeing our numbers show about a 78% chance that Nebraska is going to win this one outright. It's going to be interesting to see because they will have Casey Thompson as the starting quarterback for Northwestern. He is, pardon me, of course, Casey Thompson going to be the starter for Nebraska. The Texas transfer was pretty good last year. Started 10 games, led the Big 12 with touchdowns with 24, and had 2,113 passing yards on 63.2% completion percentage. He beat out Chubba Purdy from Florida State and Logan Smothers for that top job with the Cornhuskers. You know they've got an offense. You know that offense is going to throw the ball, what Scott Frost is going to do there. It's interesting to say, though, this Northwestern team, not very good, but they probably have the best player in this game. Their offensive lineman, Peter Skoronski, is right now being projected. I think I saw him in a Jordan Reed mock draft on ESPN as the 6th pick in the draft next year. Some questions about whether or not he's a guard or a tackle, but that doesn't matter at this level. What he's going to be is an absolute dominant offensive tackle for that Northwestern team. Just don't think it's going to matter all that much here. We're looking at negative, just not an incredibly productive game. And also look behind the curtain here as I don't have everything open that I'm supposed to, as a bit out of practice for this little endeavor to be back. But man, I'm excited about it. We're looking at all of these odds, by the way, on bovadasportsbook.com. And Bovada does have, they have Nebraska minus 13.5. And the question is, of course, is that enough? Going to show about 54% of the time Northwestern is going to cover this spread, but I do not believe today is going to be one of those days. I like Nebraska and that offense to, I'm going to say it's a 17-ish point win. We're not going to dig too much into alternate lines here. Just comfortably take the plus 13.5. But yeah, we're definitely going Northwestern, or pardon me, definitely going Nebraska to cover that 13.5 really out of habit here. Nebraska covers. Nebraska probably wins by about 17, and the negative 13.5 at Bovada it's easy pickings right now because, as I said, I don't think we're looking at a game that's going to be even kind of competitive. Unfortunate for all of those handful of Northwestern fans out there. Let's move on to our next game here. UConn versus Utah State. And again, not so much with the competitive games early on. We are showing Utah State being a 26.5 point favorite at Bovada, and that's probably not going to be enough. Spoilers. When we really dig into it, the UConn team just is not very good. They were 123rd in points against last year. They were 116th in passing yards, 122nd in rushing yards, which begs the question, what do they do well? Also, if you're a fan of consistency and continuity, their defensive coordinator stepped away from the program about 7 years ago. So it's a hodgepodge defense, and a defense that wasn't very good to start with, unfortunately. Heading over to Utah State, now, bad time for a bad defense to go up against this team. 15th in the country in passing yards last year, 85th in rushing yards, and a solid, if unspectacular, defense. Gave up 25.3 points per game, 58th in the nation. They get quarterback Logan Bonner back, who had a good year, but there's also some excitement in Wyoming transfer Levi Williams at the quarterback position, a guy who, to this point, showed development as a passer, getting up to 60% last year, but really is a threat with his feet. And you imagine they're going to mix both those guys in effectively against what does unfortunately look like a rather lackluster defense. We're showing about 95% of the time Utah State's going to cover this line. And again, this is another one. If we were looking alternate lines, this would be an opportunity because this is not going to be a competitive football game. Utah State at 452 offensive yards a game last year. And expect a number similar to that today. We're going to go Utah State minus 26.5 at Bovada to be our second pick in this parlay. And that is going to bring things after two picks up to plus 264. I have looked at this in advance, and I don't think we're going to have the crazy high numbers that we had last week in terms of the parlay. We're probably not going to hit 37,188, but we are going to add a national championship pick, probably just to round things out. I also, going back to that first game, I do also like the under. And maybe we're going to add that on here because I just don't think Northwestern's going to score the ball. Why don't we add the under, which is 50.5, minus 111, minus 110 at Bovada, which takes our parlay three picks in now up to a plus 596 at Bovada. We're making some money. We're getting there. Let's move on. The third game. The Wyoming Cowboys versus the Illini of Illinois. This is a closer game, at least. I don't know that it's going to end up being as such, but it is a little bit of a closer game on paper. We're showing that Illinois is going to win this guy about 75% of the time outright, which makes sense given what that line looks like right now. This Wyoming team is going to live and die by their run game. 20th in the nation last year, 211 rushing yards a game, 37th total defense last year, but they do lose Chad Muma, their linebacker, to the NFL draft. So regression is probably to be expected there. They have lost their last year starting running back, Xavier Valladay, but their backup, Titus Swen, is more than capable of stepping into that starting role. Expect a big season from Mr. Swen in Wyoming, but probably not going to matter too much. Heading over to Illinois, they did just name, an hour ago, they named Syracuse transfer Tommy DeVito as their starting quarterback. He was competing with Art Sitkowski. DeVito started 15 games in 3 years at Syracuse. 3,400 yards, 27 touchdowns, 10 interceptions, a little bit of a threat on the ground. But, I honestly think DeVito is going to take a pretty big step up this year. Looked like he started to figure some things out last season and should be an impact player for Illinois. We're showing Illinois 91% against the spread right now. Maybe we do have to dig into alternate lines, I'll tell you. The over-under on this one is 44, which looks about right. So we're going to avoid that. But we're taking favorites, but we're picking against the spread. A little boring, but money is money is money. 4 picks in. Illinois is our pick. -11 at Bovada, -115 overall. And that is going to take our parlay now, 4 picks in, up to plus 1201. $100 wins you $1,201 thus far. There's going to be more. Of course there's going to be more. Let's keep going. Our next game, Charlotte versus Florida Atlantic. We're showing that FAU is going to win this one about 67% of the time. An interesting team for Florida Atlantic. They get... You would think that their best player is the wide receiver Grant Dubois, an exciting player, 14.4 a catch last year, 6 touchdowns, 62 catches for 892. He's going to be the player you have to worry about on that side of the ball. 6'3", 200-pound receiver who, with a good season, we could potentially see potential NFL draft pick. I don't think it's crazy. You look at some of the lines he put up last year, and I think it's completely reasonable. For Florida Atlantic, it's just a weird team. It's just a weird team, though. The offense has struggled. It was a problem. Then it was a strength, and now it was a problem again last year. But they get their quarterback back. That's Nkosi Perry. Granted, he was in a little up and down after coming over from Miami, but again, end of the year much stronger than the beginning, and we're happy to see him pointed in the right direction there. I think he's going to take a big step. They get Johnny Ford back. They get Jaquan Burton and LeJontay Webster back at wide receiver. The offense should have some consistency, a little bit more time to gel, and that's the reason. I think FAU probably wins that division. We're showing FAU is going to cover the spread about 94% of the time, -7.5 for a -110 at Bovada. Hard to go against that, and again, we're just chalk favorites here. A little bit boring, but like I said, doesn't matter when you're collecting that check. Our parlay 5 picks in goes up to $23.83. $100 wins $2,383. Hell yeah. Do we like anything else though? Both teams scored the ball last year. I think Florida Atlantic's going to be a little bit better this year, but I don't know that we're going to get up to that 60.5 over under at Bovada right now. You're talking about big numbers when it starts with a 6. The under would be where I leaned, but I'm not confident enough in that to make a pick, and we're going to get to 8 pretty easy. Anyway, we'll see about any additional bonus picks. And spoilers ahead, but we do have finally going to go underdog a little bit later on. Our next game, North Texas versus UTEP, 9 o'clock Eastern time on Saturday. We're showing that North Texas is going to win this about 60% of the time. Their quarterback position is an interesting one. They get Grant Gunnell, who has been all over college football. He was at Memphis. He was at Arizona. Pretty big-time prospect a while back. He transferred from Arizona to Memphis in December of 2020. He missed all of 2021 with a leg injury. Went back into the portal this past offseason. after playing in that the Tiger spring game, and ends up now at North Texas. So their gain is the Tigers' loss. 6'6", 225 pounds, and a better athlete than you would think. So, a 4-star recruit back in 2019. There's reason for optimism at the quarterback position in North Texas. In terms of UTEP, 50th in college football in passing yards, 87th in rushing yards, 53 in total defense. Just kind of a little bit mediocre numbers. They do get quarterback Gavin Hardison back for another season. Started to put things together. You liked the jump that he took from 2020 to 2021. That's what I'll say. 2020, we're talking 1,419 yards, 5 touchdowns, 5 picks. Last year, that number comes up to 3,218 with 18 touchdowns to 13 interceptions. We want to see him be more accurate, though. 55.5% in terms of the completion percentage is not going to cut it, but I think he's going to scoot up. He's going to scoot up over 60, probably not too far, but over 60 nonetheless. We're going to show that UTEP is going to cover this line about 58% of the time. This is, in fact, a pick'em on Bovada right now. So, in those situations, it's hard not to go. It's hard not to go with UTEP. It's hard not to go with UTEP. Do we feel good about this? The over/under 54. That feels almost perfect, quite frankly. This is the one that I'm, quite frankly, struggling with the most. This is the one that I'm not as sure about. This is the one that has given me pause. But, yeah, let's go UTEP. It's a pick'em, and that'll be our 6th pick, which is going to take us up to 46-41. 2 games left this Saturday, college football week 0. Interesting one here. Nevada takes on New Mexico State. That is going to be a 10 o'clock late night game, East Coast, on ESPN2. We're showing that Nevada is going to win about 78% of the time outright. And this Nevada team, they're in flux. They lose quite a bit from last year's team. Quarterback Carson Strong was projected to go as high as the first round prior to the knowledge of a lingering knee injury, now fighting to make the Philadelphia Eagles potentially a practice squad player. They lose tight end Cole Turner. They lose wide receiver Romeo Doubs. But they have a lot there. The question is, who is going to be the player to succeed Mr. Strong here? Because it was going to be Nate Cox, who was their backup last year through 43 attempts, 279 yards. Nothing super, but backing up Carson Strong's not going to play a ton. He got arrested for a DUI, drunk driving in July. Now there's some questions about, is it going to be Nate Cox? Is it going to be Oklahoma State transfer Shane Illingsworth? They're saying a lot of nice things about Illingsworth right now. Feels like they're just trying to get Cox to buy in. Assuming he does that, I think Nate Cox is the starter, and there's upside there for sure. New Mexico, 25th in passing yards last year. New Mexico State, 25th in passing yards last year at 69.7 a game. Defense was atrocious. They gave up 40.4 points a game, and they really couldn't run the ball all that well. And I don't know how much better either of those two positions are going to be this year. I don't know that the defense has gotten much better. I don't know that they're going to show any real dedication to the running game. They do really like their junior quarterback, Dino Maldonado. 513 yards last year was their top returner. Yeah. It's going to be an interesting season for New Mexico State. We're showing Nevada is going to cover the spread about 83% of the time. Can't say I disagree. We'll take the Wolfpack here. -9 at Bovada, -110 overall. And that one is going to take our parlay now 7 picks in, up to plus 89.51. Let's move on. Our final game that we're going to look at this weekend, the final game of week 0, as a matter of fact. And I always say I want these things to be about 15 to 25 minutes. Seems like this is going to be the first time we're going to get there. I'm excited about that. I really am. And I'm going to stop talking so we still get there. Our last game, Vanderbilt Hawai'i, 10:30 Eastern Time kickoff. It's on the CBS Sports Network. And we're showing Hawaii's going to win this one outright about 72% of the time. Vandy just doesn't do much well. Last year was a struggle. 104th in total passing yards, 102nd in total rushing yards, 120th in defense. Those are not numbers that are going to win you a lot of games, especially when you're playing in the SEC. They also, as if things weren't bad enough, they lost a guy in Miles Capers, who was a defensive end linebacker that they were counting on taking a step this year. They lost him for the season after he hurt his knee earlier. Over on the Hawaii side, the story, aside from the fact that they were a very good passing offense last year, they were 26th in the NCAA at 262 yards per game, though their former starting quarterback, Chevin Cordiero, now at San Jose State, is the return of Timmy Chang. The Hawaii legend comes in to be the new Hawaii head coach, and I'm buying it. I am buying it. I know they lost a lot of talent. I know there's some trouble. I think Vandy might stink. And this is why, for the first time, we're going to take a money line. Forget about the cover. Forget about Hawaii covering, Hawaii +8 at Bovada. That's a fine number, but it's nothing all too exciting. We're going Hawaii money line, plus 250. That is going to be the 8th pick for our parlay. It's going to take it from 89.51 to plus 31.579. Look, we got close. I was thinking about a national championship pick. I really was. Let's look at the over/under here. I'd love to get one more pick in, because I buy this Timmy Chang team. I buy what Timmy Chang is selling. 28 there. Vandy just couldn't score. The over/under is 53.5. The under feels safe. The under does feel kind of safe. You know what? Bonus pick. Under. We're taking the under 53.5 at Bovada, and that number is going to get us up to, it's minus 110. It is going to get our parlay with a bonus 9th pick from 31.579 to plus $60,378. $100 wins you 60 grand. Locks. I've been Chris Horwedel. This has been In Pursuit of a Parlay. College football, week 0. I can't wait to come back and do some more college picks next week. Until then, thanks for watching. Rate and review wherever you're watching, and we will see you next time.